Many of you have met Mike. He's the Tamron representative that serves PhotoPro and this region. Mike's out of Minneapolis area. Are you in Minneapolis tonight, or where are you
I
actually?
am. I am. Yep. With the COVID, travel has come to a screeching halt. Matter of fact, next week I have my first trip since March. So it'll be nice to get back out on the road. It's only a little bit. It's not nearly the travel that I used to do. But we hope to get back to traveling to all of our dealers and seeing all of our customers as soon as possible.
Yeah. So if you're catching us on Facebook Live, leave in the comment section on Facebook, leave a comment where you're watching from, so we know you're watching us. We'd love to know that and see that. So let us know that you're watching and where you're watching from. I think we've got, Mike, it looks like 6 people online right now watching us on Facebook. So let us know where you're from. And some of you, if you've been involved with PhotoPro over the years, you've met Mike in person, or Mike comes down and teaches a class at least, usually once a year. He taught one as part of our webinar series on it was wildlife photography. And so you might have got to know Mike a little through some of his teaching too. So Mike's going to be taking a few minutes, 10 or 15, 20, I don't know, talking about Tamron in general, but then focusing in on the 70 to 180, which is a very unique lens, and you'll learn about that. And then we'll have be asking any questions. I'm going to be monitoring the comments on Facebook, so let us know what questions you have, and I'll be asking those of Mike, and then we'll be sharing. Probably the most fun, we get to share images.
Yeah.
So
it was fun as we were planning this. Kim had used the lens probably back in May to shoot some images, and then in preparation for this, it was a great excuse to force myself to go out and shoot some new images with it as well. And I had a blast. So, do we want to just jump into the
I'll just
slides?
let you know first. August Helgeson from Cedar Rapids is watching. So I know we've got several others on Facebook Live. So let us know where you're watching from, and that'll help us know that we're not just talking to one another.
Okay. It is always fun to see. Even if you're watching this after and it's not live, and you just happen to be catching on PhotoPro's Facebook page, throw in where you're watching it from. It's always fun to see the reach on something like this.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, Mike, go ahead and take it away.
Excellent. Thank you, Kim. I appreciate it. So we're going to talk a little bit about Tamron's new 70 to 180. It's a brand new zoom lens for the Sony mirrorless system. Like Kim said, my name is Mike Pasendek. I'm a sales representative for Tamron. I've been with Tamron since 2015, but I've been in the photo industry for about 25, 26 years. If you are so desired, you can follow me on Instagram under Tamron Mike, or under Facebook as Tamron Mike. It's a great way if you want to share an image with me, ask a follow-up question. Particularly now where my travel is pretty limited, I'm very active on that and reply to comments and questions quickly. So hit that up. We'll talk a little bit about the overall lens lineup. One area that Tamron's been focusing a lot on in the last year and a half or so is our lens lineup and assortment for the Sony mirrorless system as it continues to grow. And one thing that we're trying to point out is that as we build this out now to 7 full lenses, all of them are 2.8 zooms, or in the case of the 28 to 200, it starts at 2.8, and as it zooms out to 200, drops off to a 5.6, but they're all relatively fast and bright light, adding additional value and opportunity with the lenses. And we're also really kind of building this and putting it together as a family and trying to think of features that draw everything close. You know, the larger aperture. In all of their design functions, size and weight is absolutely a consideration because the Sony bodies tend to be a little bit more compact, a little bit lighter weight. There's no real reason to design real big, massive lenses to fit on the front of them. So with what we're coming out with first, definitely size and weight is important. Obviously, image quality is very important to Tamron and to their end users, so they all have excellent glass in them. As typical with Tamron lenses, we're always considering minimum focus distance too. And all these lenses are class leading in their minimum focus. So, sorry, give me 1 second. I'm gonna move one of my other monitors over. They also have 67 millimeter filter thread all the way through. So if you invest in something like a polarizing filter or a neutral density filter, it'll work on all of the lenses that we've launched for Sony mirrorless at this point. And then they're fully integrated to the Sony system. So they support all the feature sets, face detect, eye autofocus, object tracking, all the great technology that's in the Sony bodies, our lenses are also going to support. So this is kind of where it started for us at Tamron. We started with a 28 to 75, small, light, compact, great zoom range, 2.8 lens all the way through the zoom. So whether I'm using it for concert photography in low light, or I'm using it for weddings and portrait work, and I want to have a more shallow depth of field, it's supporting all that and giving you that flexibility. Then we added to it with a 17 to 28. Again, thinking size, weight, image quality. And one thing you'll notice through the zoom range is these aren't necessarily considered industry standard zoom ranges. The 17 to 28, a lot of our competitors would have a 16 to 35. Well, we're making some adjustments to the zoom range so we can maximize the other three things that are really important to us: image quality, size, and weight. And that's where the 70 to 180 would come in. Price on the 1728 is $899, of course, and then the 28 to 75 is $879. So very aggressively priced for 2.8 zooms. And then the prime lenses, 20, 24, 35, all in 2.8. And all of those lenses do half of macro or half of life-size macro performance, which is excellent for those primes. Those are $349. There is a $50 mail-in rebate on those. I'm sorry, not mail-in rebate. That's an instant rebate. So you're actually at $299 at your authorized dealer. But this is really the exciting part for me, because up to this point, if you wanted a telephoto, it was typically going to be big and heavy and expensive. Well, Tamron has brought this lens out, 70 to 180. Again, not a traditional zoom focal length for the industry, but we take 20 millimeters off the telephoto side, and look what I can do with it. I can save you a lot of money. This is an $11.99 product. This is a 2.8 all the way through the zoom range, and then it meets our other two criteria of small and lightweight. You can see here in the slide showing its optical design, engineers are really using everything at their disposal to maximize the image quality on this. We've got gold molded glass aspherics, we've got hybrid aspherics, low dispersion, and even extra low dispersion elements in the unit to maximize image quality for you. Minimum objective distance or minimum focus is 33.5 inches. Which is excellent for this product, and it only comes in at 28.6 ounces. So the weight is absolutely incredible, and it balances very, very well on the Sony bodies. It doesn't become front heavy. The zoom does extend a little bit as you roll it out, but it is fully moisture sealed and dust sealed, as you can see in that image. There's a number of seals in it to help protect it. Uncompromising edge-to-edge image quality is really one of its highlights, and exceptional chromatic aberration control. So when you typically shoot an image, particularly against a lighter background or a backlit subject, sometimes you'll get kind of a magenta or purple ring around that image. If you zoom in real close, you'll see very little to none of that in this lens. It's extraordinarily well corrected for. The autofocus motor in this is very quiet, so it does an amazing job if you're shooting sports in action, if I'm trying to track a runner or a soccer player or hockey player around the field. It also does a great job on video. So in video, it'll do a fantastic job if I was shooting a bride or a model walking towards the camera, away from the camera. It'll track it as it comes towards you the entire time. So like a lot of Tamron lenses, it also has a fluorine coating on the front element. That adds durability to the front element, also makes it easier to clean. I typically relate it to Teflon for glass. You know, the dust that does get on there blows off easier. Fingerprints are less likely to adhere and are much easier to clean off. So, and this is fully compatible with Sony's in-body image stabilization system. So where there's no stabilization in the lens itself, most of the new Sony cameras have stabilization built into the body, so you're pretty well covered there for using it in lower light situations where your shutter speed might not be as high as you might want it. So, and then the other thing that's unique is we're the only third-party company that Sony has granted access to for firmware updates. So if we launch a firmware update for the lens to improve performance or make additional correction to it, it pushes through the body just like a Sony firmware update does. You download it from our site, you'll hook your camera up to your computer, the firmware will push to the body, and then the body will push it through to the lens. Very, very simple. It's the exact same thing that happens with the Sony lenses.
And Mike, this is Kim.
Yep.
I think, personally, I think that's a huge deal that right within my body, I can update the firmware on my camera and my Tamron lens, of course, my Sony lens too. Yep. But my Tamron, that makes it so much easier than having to do it through connecting it to my computer or tap console, or sometimes not with Tamron, but the other manufacturers, you got to put your firmware update on a memory card and insert it. And so I think the ease of doing that through the body is a huge deal. Yep,
absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you. You know, we're doing it in the same ecosystem as the body manufacturer. So if you're used to it because you own other Sony lenses, it's going to happen in the exact same process that you'll be comfortable with. So, and then just a couple of test shots that came out of the office. You know, I would much rather look at the shots we took, but here's a nice zoo shot that was taken with it, and then this is a great example of its close focus and its rendering of the kind of color and contrast in a lower light, lower contrast situation. Excellent saturation in it. You know, we've already talked about the 6-year warranty. That is the best in the industry, and it's something we like to tout. We build our lenses with this in mind, so that you can have peace of mind when you buy it that it's going to last and be a quality product for you. Our service is also top-notch. Right now, unfortunately, with COVID, we don't have a 3-day turnaround time. We are looking forward to getting back to that as quick as possible. We're located out in New York, and so as New York comes hopefully all the way up to their phase 4, we'll be able to get back to 3-day service turnaround time. Right now, we're probably running around a week, which is still excellent turnaround time. But when we get back to 3 days, we'll be back at that industry-leading service turnaround time. So, and that's what I've got for a slide presentation, Kim. So if you don't see any questions,
we don't have any questions yet, but we've got a few people watching us on Facebook Live, and if you've got a question about Tamron or this lens, we're going to go on and begin to share images and photos that we took. But if you've got questions, I'm watching the comment section of the Facebook Live. Put them in there, and I'll ask Mike, and we can. This is live, obviously, and you can get an answer right now before before this is over. So I'm going to be watching. Put your comments in. I'm going to. I might mention I'm going to try this mic. I mentioned that I had this offer. I'm just going to see if this puppy pops up.
Absolutely. Well, you work on that, Kim. You all kind of explain one thing.
Okay.
In my history.
Can you see this?
I do see it. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Right now, Tamron has some great instant rebates. And if you, on this offer I have, it says buy now, but it'll take you to our website that has all of their rebates on that page. So,
excellent. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, so I wanted to
click through. It worked great.
Try and see that work. We're going to go to the screen sharing here. So I'm keeping one eye on the comment section. These are all obviously taken with the 70 to 180. Takes a while, doesn't it, Mike, to say 180?
It does. I've got to reprogram my mind. I'm so used to saying 70 to 200.
70 to 200 is such a standard, an industry standard. And one of the things that probably, that's the place where the lens, I don't know if the correct word is compromised, but instead of going 200 to 180, and the question is, are you going to miss that extra 20 millimeters for all the benefits? Mike went over those things pretty quickly, but this thing is light. If you've ever shot a 70 to 200 lens of any manufacturer, those are big, heavy lenses. And this thing is so light and so nice to handle. And it's something that you wouldn't mind carrying and taking with you and using. So this was, I have a friend that's got sort of a bird sanctuary in his backyard, and I went over to Weird's house. Now this is taken with the, obviously, Sony, the A7R4, which has got a very, very high megapixel camera. And I'm going to pull out here the file info in case you're interested. You might be able to read some of these. This file's heavily cropped because I'm shooting it at 180 millimeter. It was sort of dark back there. It's a 2500 ISO. I'm not going to go over this with every image, but it was shot.
I think one thing, I'm going to jump in here for a second, because one thing that's important to understand is that you said it was heavily cropped, and it is. This was shot with a Sony A7R Mark IV, so 60 some megapixels. And the thing to understand is that this lens can absolutely keep up with that high resolution sensor and give you that cropping capacity out of it.
Yeah. This bird was a long ways away from me, Mike, and that's why I included this photo, is to show that even when cropped down and it handled that and resolved that very high resolution sensor, and I thought this was a good example of that.
Yep.
This was I did a couple of front porch photo sessions while I had it, and this was a very, very bright sunny day, and you can tell down on the part of the dog. So I hid them in the only piece of shade that their whole front of their house had. And so what did I use here at aperture?
This was f4.
F4, yeah.
Yep.
So because I had two layers of people, I wanted to make sure they were all sharp in focus. And and it's 92 millimeter. I was in their driveway, and I didn't have a lot of room here.
I love your conversion to black and white too.
But yeah,
I think it makes the image pop a little bit.
Yeah. And this was just an ordinary home on their front porch. Actually, we're right in the driveway. You go right from the driveway right into the front porch. And I wanted to take some photos of people with the lens. I think the next one's coming up, Mike, or yours, and then it'll come back to mine. Oops.
Sure.
Oh, I got trigger happy here. Yeah, here we go. So you can talk about this one.
So this is a bar that I just happened to stumble upon as I took the lens out to do some night shooting with, and I loved the neon in here, and I like window scenes. And Kim, I don't know if it's possible for you to maybe zoom in a little bit to
Yeah.
either the Summit or the Bud Light side. Because when I got home and I started looking at this under magnification and taking it to 100 and 200% on my monitor, one thing that really surprised me is the amount of detail that I had, even in these blinds behind the neon light sign. It is absolutely incredible. And obviously, some of that credit goes to the Sony sensor and the processing. This has very, very light image manipulation in Lightroom to it, just to tweak a few things. But other than that, it's almost straight out of the camera, and the sharpness on it really, really was surprising, particularly in that lower light situation. I thought it did a fantastic job handling the brightness on the neon signs and not causing any internal ghosting
Yeah.
within the lens itself. So,
Yeah, the focus is lightning fast. You talked about
yep,
that, the focus system on it, and not only quiet, but man, this thing just bam, it's on.
yep. That's the VXD motor. It's very, very fast, very, very quiet, and it takes full advantage of the Sony AF system.
Yeah,
So,
there's no hunting. You're just right there.
yep,
Okay, this
yep.
next one
Let's jump
here.
jump to the next one and see what we get.
If I'm to the next one, let me
Oh,
I'm going to stop screen sharing and start it
okay.
again. Sometime, we had that happen to us once before,
Yep.
and so I'll share the screen again. Okay, can you see this?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. I love the light in this image. This is downtown Minneapolis. This is Washington Avenue, looking kind of to the northwest, west northwest, kind of. The sun setting obviously there, and I kid you not, this is exactly how orange the sky was. It just had this brief 3-5 minute something like that. It was just gorgeous orange. And I parked the car, walked across the street so I could kind of find the right angle where I could hide the sun behind a building a little bit. Um, and I just love the way it's kind of bouncing off the buildings on each side of the image. So again, a great job. I expected to get some flare having that bright of a light source that deep into the image and kind of shooting it the way it's composed. I expected to see some flare in it, and the lens did an excellent job of controlling and handling all of that.
Yeah, that's a beautiful.
Yep. It stopped down to f11, so you had some starburst in it. This image, I just loved all the stacked lines in it. This is down looking south down the Mississippi after the lock and dam. And obviously we've got some construction going there, so we've got a big crane. And then the lower lock and dam is kind of the grid work you see in the foreground. And then the newer bridge that's lit up kind of towards the middle of the image. Just a nice series of different depths, and I'm using the 180 millimeters there to compress all of the different lines together, kind of make it look like they're all in the same frame and flatten it out quite a bit. I think that telephoto's often overlooked for landscape, cityscape type of work. So,
Yeah. Ready for the next one?
yep. This was, again, 180 millimeters f4. This is later in the evening, so I'm not dealing with a whole lot of light here, so my ISO is up around that 2500. And there was a family fishing on the banks, carp fishing here in between the two locks. And they just had the pole set up, lying out there waiting for it to get a bite. It almost looked like this mystical pole that somebody had left behind because the family was off a little bit. So I framed that up in at f4, fully zoomed in 180 millimeters here again to use some of that compression to bring the background up on it and shallow the depth of field, made for kind of a fun image to isolate that fishing pole with.
Yeah.
And again, when you zoom in, I mean, we won't do it now because it does impact the screen sharing, but if you see this file, the detail, you can read the brand and everything that you want right there on the reel.
Let me give it a try, Mike.
Sure.
I don't know if it was the screen sharing that did it. This was what did it or not. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah, and if you hold it there for a second, then it'll kind of snap in. I mean, this is excellent. It's 2500 ISO. This is f4. And you got to remember, it's also coming off a video feed right now instead of a live still image, but the sharpness on it is excellent.
Yeah, it was
very surprising.
ISO 2500 because it's a little lower light. Did it finally snap and focus there?
Yep.
Okay. Now I'm going to bring it back. Did it work for you? Are you back to the whole photo now?
Yep. We're back in the full image.
Okay. For those who are joining late or in the middle, I'm talking to Mike Pazendak from Tamron, and we're talking in particular about right now the 70 to 180 millimeter f2.8 lens. These are photos that Mike and myself have taken with that lens on a Sony camera. So I think this next one is yours also, Mike. There's a beautiful sky.
Yep. And this is maybe just up 100 yards from where I was with that fishing pole. But instead of looking downriver, now I'm looking upriver, and I'm seeing some of that sunset. I'm silhouetting. This bridge in the foreground is the St. Anthony Bridge. It was originally a bridge for carrying coal, wheat, flour, that kind of stuff back and forth over the St. Anthony Falls on the Mississippi.
Is that a walking bridge now?
It is a walking bridge now. Yep. Okay. It's an amazing bridge. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head how old it is, but it is a beautiful stone bridge with beautiful arches on it all the way over. Yeah. So you used it to kind of frame off the bottom, and then the building on the left to kind of balance out that open space in the upper right-hand corner that is the sky and the sunset. And again, the sharpness in it is just excellent. I'm not using all the zoom this time. I'm what am I at? 104 millimeters here. But I wanted to carry some depth of field, so I'd stopped it down. So I could carry the depth of field from the kind of the foreground of the bridge all the way to the buildings in the background. And this is just amazing. I was out shooting this lens, and I've always shot 7200 2.8 lenses. I've shot them for a long time, even prior to working for Sony. So I'm familiar, for Tamron, and I'm familiar with the size and weight. They're not always the funnest lens to carry around because of the size and weight, and that just isn't the case here. Because of its size, because of its weight, it just becomes another very manageable lens in your bag, and that's really why it's striking with so many Sony users. So.
Yeah, and you're only sacrificing, if you want to say that, you're gaining a lot. So it's everything's a trade-off, but it's only 20 millimeters you're sacrificing there. And if you've got putting it on a fairly decent high-resolution camera sensor, you're able to crop that in nicely to make up for any difference. And the lightness of the lens makes it just such a fun lens to carry around and use.
Yep.
This was another front porch. Shot this at f4 too. If I've got a group of people and they're going to be in like 2 rows, even though I'm a ways away from them, and I can see on even my monitor this one's not resolving well. This is a sharp photo actually. It's not looking that way on my monitor tonight. But I want to make sure I've got adequate depth of field there for a family. And so this was taken this one morning, and yeah, ISO 100. It was a pretty bright morning.
That's really nice composition. I like how you kind of layered them on the stairs. You know, having the father and the son kind of at sidewalk or ground level.
Well, this happened by chance. Mike, we were finished really with the session, messing around, and this is the way the family just sort of fell out. And I was leaving, and I said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, hold this!" I said, "It looks like a band shot." And the only thing I changed is the one young boy, I had him put his foot up on the rock.
Yep.
That was the only thing I changed of it, because I just loved the composition, the way they just were that moment right there. And when I do shots, I always try to get at least some of the shots next to the house number.
Yep.
For them to remember their home. And this was we spend such a lot of time in our home this summer and spring. Wanted to try close focusing, and this was spring, probably. I think it was April you gave me this lens. Might have even been April 25th.
Could have been.
Yeah, April 25th. And
time is flying.
Stuff was just coming out in blossom. This is like a vine of some kind I just wanted to. This was just a test to see how close I could get with it.
Well, the other thing that it does represent is the bokeh rendition.
That beautiful background.
Very clean, very appealing, very pleasing in the background.
So soft, it just separates it so nicely there.
Yep, it doesn't become busy at all.
I think I've got another one coming up somewhere here of close focusing. This was a bird that, it was a long ways away. I was 50 feet away from this bird. So obviously this is very heavily cropped. 180
The eye is still tack sharp.
Yeah, and he's got, actually, I didn't know this till I got home and was doing editing. He's got, I don't know if he's preening, and those are some of his feathers in his mouth, or if he's collecting something to make a nest, but he's got that.
Yeah.
People who know birds better than me, it might be that he's preening himself, or whatever you would call that, pulling out these feathers. I don't know. I didn't know
pruning,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would guess he's pruning. But I'm certain. I know that there's people that know birds better than me.
Yeah. We just take pictures of them. But once again, I mean, this thing is cropped so heavily, it's crazy. And now you're looking at it on a monitor, but I've seen this. I can print this, and it retains its sharpness and detail, and very nice.
Yeah, it's excellent.
This was some of the first little small flowers to come out. That's this spring in April. Once again, I got down on the ground and wanted to see how close I could get to these. It's at 2.8, 167, so it's almost 180. And I think at 180 is the closest. You probably know this lens a little better. Mm-hmm. Which end you can get the closest magnification at? I think it's the 180 end, but I'm not positive.
It is at the 180 end in the normal autofocus mode. There's actually a little kind of hidden manual focus mode in there where you can actually get closer. Yeah, it's 70 millimeters. If you put the camera into manual focus, you have to go into the camera's menu, and then you can manually focus the lens to get it in even closer and tighter.
Oh my gosh.
It does, there'll be a fair amount of softness around the edges when you use that mode, but the center remains nice and sharp.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a replacement for a macro lens, but if I want to use it for close-up and I'm looking maybe for a little bit of that dreaminess and softness around the edges anyways, it adds an extra functionality to the lens.
Well, this was at 2.8, which, if you want sharpness, I should have stopped down. I had plenty of light. I should have stopped down a little more, but it does give me a nice separation on my background. But
It does.
it's very shallow, but the parts that are in focus are very, very sharp.
Yep.
And once again, I wanted to just try out the close focusing ability.
It's nice.
You able to
I
see?
love this.
You able to see the next photo working
Yep.
for you? Okay. Well, this cardinal was up in a tree. This is probably 40 feet away. It was 30 feet at least up, and these berries are left from the winter from the last season, and it was
Sure.
gorging on these. I stood there and shot this thing. I have over 200 shots of it eating, and I was there 30 minutes. At least shooting this cardinal, and I finally just gave up and left. I bet he stayed there another 30 minutes and ate. I have so many shots, and obviously here I had, with 180 millimeters that far away, I had a crop, severely cropped.
Yep.
But even with that, look at this.
Yeah. Between the camera and that lens, that sharpness is still right on. I mean, you can see the reflection in his eye.
It looks like he's eye to eye with me.
Yeah.
You just would never know how high and far away it was. And you can sort of see here, I only had a little window through the branches and leaves.
Yeah. They
You
frame
don't
them
know
up
what I was shooting through, the little window I was shooting through here to get him. I kept walking. He would move a little and I'd move, and because I'd lose my window through the tree. Because he wasn't out on my edge, he was in the middle of this tree, and I had to shoot through all these branches. And I've got several here. Yeah, you've seen one, you've seen them all. But see, on this one, I'm up 4.5. Obviously 180. He posed, he did all kinds of things.
They're an amazing bird. The color on them is fantastic. And then to find him early in the spring on a tree that's really complementing his color.
Well, this is how far away he was. I didn't know what he was doing. I thought that he was eating, but I couldn't see this. I couldn't see the berries. I couldn't see them in his mouth. I just kept shooting, and I was in. I was shooting in continuous low mode because he's moving, and I don't know what I'm getting exactly. So I overshot this because it was so interesting.
Yep.
And look at that.
That is very sharp. And it's a great bird photo. It's an absolutely great bird photo.
Yeah, and it's 1/500th because I wanted to make sure I had plenty of light, and I want to really make sure that I'm getting this darn bird in focus.
It's an amazing shot, and it really demonstrates. I have said a number of times that
handheld,
high resolution sensor and the high resolution lens.
Okay, my card at this point, I know why I left. I'd filled my card up. I thought
easy to do is 63 megapixels.
Take a few photos, and then I ran into this darn cardinal, and so I had to delete stuff off my camera, which I never do, and you're not supposed to delete stuff off your card, but I had to because I wanted to get this cute squirrel. Looks like it's smelling the flower, but it's
absolutely looks like he's holding it and pulling it in for a big smell.
So I only got 2 pictures of this darn squirrel because I shot all my wads on the cardinal.
But
funny. Once again, this was way up in the tree. And I would never think of taking a 180 out to shoot wildlife.
No, but when you got the right lens and sensor.
Yeah, look at that.
Look how sharp the hands are.
Oh, look at.
That's great.
He's eating it. See that? You can see what he's eating.
Yeah, it looks like he's eating a little butt off of it.
Here, you want to get closer? Of course, now it starts to fall apart. But I mean, it's cropped so severely to begin with here.
That's amazing. That's a great
Well, it
image.
was a fun combination, the camera and the lens. It was.
Hmm.
Then I'm just going to end on a couple more from a front porch session. Um, if I'd do this over, I would have been. This was only. I shot it only 96 millimeter. I would shoot this at 180 to get more
Yep.
compression if I were to do this again. I'm not sure why I didn't get back further, but I shot 5.6 again because I've got two kids here.
Yep.
They're brothers. There's the family, and
I love it in blue.
yeah, another one with the family. So these are friends of mine. And I said, hey, I got a lens here for the weekend, and I want to shoot some people. Do you mind if I come over and do a front porch shoot? They gave me an example, gave me an excuse to use the lens. And it was just beautiful. Of course, it was, I don't think I know the time of day, but they had some nice.
It actually says 114.
114, yeah, it's a bright day, but
Yep.
we were sheltered by their overhang on their porch, so it made some beautiful ambient light coming in. So it was really well lit. So you can just see what a beautiful job with people this does. And once again, if there's anything I would do, I would just 1600 ISO. I didn't need to shoot this at 1600. F1600. I don't know what I was doing there. Should have brought my ISO down and that down.
But the sensor still does a pretty dang good job of reproducing a very wide tonal range, even at that higher ISO.
Yeah.
So
and the beautiful light really helps.
yes,
Nothing like nice light.
Yep.
So I was, I got opportunity to do some little close up. I got two families. I did some wildlife, and it was just a fun. And of course, it was the first. I did all of this on. I guess it was 1 weekend, 2 days. I did this family one day, and I went to the park the other day. So it was a delight to use. It doesn't. I think you mentioned this. One of the other trade-offs is it doesn't have image stabilization, but your Sony A7 series has got IBIS.
Yep.
3. I'm not sure the 2. Does the 2 have it? I can't remember.
Yep. A7 IIs were the first camera that Sony put the image stabilization system into the body.
Yeah.
It would only be the original A7, A7R that don't have it.
And here's the deal. It depends, I guess, on your genre of photography, but I shoot a lot of people. Or I shoot animals or some that are moving, and so image stabilization with moving subjects isn't going to be helping me much. I don't shoot families at 1/60th of a second or 1/100th of a second. I'm shooting a family. I just stay 1/250th period, and I shouldn't have been as high as I was, but I just don't want to mess with whether I've got IBIS or whether I've got image stabilization on my lens.
Yep.
The only time I would ever do that is I got horribly low light indoors, probably, and it was the only way I could get my shot. And that's just not the kind of photography I do most. So for me, that's sort of a non-issue. It works fine, and it really helps make the lens more affordable and certainly lighter.
Yep. I was just referring back to some notes I'd made. So the Sony 70-200 G Master, which is really the only lens that is comparable to its in its class, is more than double the price of the Tamron. If you bought the Tamron, you'd save $1,500.
Yeah,
$1,500 goes a long ways towards another lens.
I think I can spare 20 millimeters. It's trade-offs, and if you've got the money to spend on a G Master and one of those Sony lenses, they're certainly stellar and great. But what a value you're getting here on the 70-180, and the price point is something that it's over $1,000. So it's not. I wouldn't call it inexpensive, but boy, it's puts it right there, affordable for many
For
people
sure.
who are, I would call them, they're a pretty serious person. They don't have their 70 to 200 yet, but if it's been on their list to get someday. This
Yep.
would be an ideal photo lens to shoot at a basketball game.
Yep.
You need the f2.8 for indoor sports. You don't use in a basketball court, you don't use the necessarily all 200 anyway at the other end. A volleyball would be fine. And it would be, the 7200 is too small a lens to cover a soccer field or a football field. I mean, you can do it if the action's right there next to you and you're on the sideline, but that lens isn't long enough anyway for those sports. But your indoor sports where the court is much smaller, this would be and it's lightweight, it's affordable, it's a great lens for a family, for the person to step up for a sports lens.
It's 55% the weight of the Sony G Master.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone is amazing to me because, as I continue to advance in my years, I'm only looking at wanting to carry lighter, more compact, simpler stuff, and not always a big DSLR body and a 7200 2.8, that is weighing my body down.
Yeah.
Weighing my bag down, rather. It's actually 2/3 the size of the Sony, 55% of the weight, like I said. It's shorter by almost half an inch when it's back in its 70 millimeters position. And, no, I'm sorry, its diameter is almost half an inch more narrow. It's actually 2 inches shorter than the Sony lens. So it's quite a big difference between the two: size, weight, price. But then if you look at any of the professional reviews on the piece, or if you like to look at MTF charts, which are optical charts for lenses, compare the MTF charts on this to the Sony G Master. They're either dead even, or in some situations this lens gets a little bit of a nod over the G Master for its image quality.
Yeah, it's been stellar reviews. I mean, this does not. That's why I was cautious to use the word sacrifice, because you're certainly not sacrificing any quality. Justin Tedford says, "Hey, Mike."
Hey, Justin.
He's on, and you come to our Photo Pros Facebook page, and you can see some photos that Justin just had published on the Tamron email and website. And Justin uses Tamron lenses, the G2s, and does a nice job with them. They work well for him, don't they?
Yep. I was very happy to see that article. Justin has done a great job photographing portraits of farmers on their farms in Iowa. And farming is near and dear to my heart. One of my best friends is a farmer. My family history, even though I've never been a farmer, my family history is rich in farming. And so when I found out about this project, I shared it with the office and said, look, here's a guy whose photography is absolutely outstanding. He's extraordinarily humble. His project's not getting enough attention, partly also because, look, we're in the middle of the country.
Yeah.
If this was something being done in New York or California, people would have heard about it at this point. But it's an important project, and it's a very high quality project. So when I shared it with the office, they took a look at some of his images, the fact that he's using Tamron 7200 G2 and the 24 to 70 G2 on his Nikon system. They loved it, and they were happy to share, and hopefully it brings a little bit more attention to what he's doing.
Go to our Facebook page. It's you just have to scroll down a few posts and you can see it. Another thing I mentioned, sports, family sports. The person that says, "Hey, my daughter is in volleyball, my son's basketball, my daughter's basketball, or we've got youth soccer." I mean, that's obviously a great place. But in others, this would be a beautiful portrait lens. You saw this separation that I got on those flowers with the beautiful bokeh. And my regret here is I didn't grab some of these family members and bring them out from the house more and do a portrait with that at 180 millimeters. Can you imagine how gorgeous that would be as a
Yep.
portrait lens?
Oh yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it would just. I wish I would have done that just as an example to show what it would do. This would
Yep.
have been a beautiful situation to have done that.
That's why I also think that any of these photographers, these wedding photographers that have switched over to the Sony system, out of their Canon and their Nikon, and coming into the Sony mirrorless system, this is a perfect wedding lens. When you're carrying gear around, my wife and I used to shoot weddings, and I know what it's like carrying gear around for 6 to 12 hours, depending on the length and the type of wedding you're shooting. I'd much rather carry this around. Matter of fact, with the price savings, I could buy 2 of these, and when we shot together, I could have one, and my wife could have one, and we could carry them around the entire day and save a heck of a lot of pain in the neck and the shoulder as we're doing so. So I think it's a perfect lens for a wedding photographer.
Absolutely.
Or portrait photographer.
Well, we're wrapping up here. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comment section on Facebook. We do have a little lag. Facebook Live has a little lag, so we're gonna wait here just for a few moments. So in case you do have any questions, we'll make sure we don't miss them. But if you've got anything, not just on the 70 to 180, but Tamron, any of the Tamron lenses, now's the time to ask. Well, we got Mike on the online here. So I'll give you a few moments. Always enjoy doing this together with you, Mike. Thank you. Thanks for loaning me the lens.
No problem.
And, Mike loaned me the Canon 35-1.4, and that's the first and only 1.4 aperture that Tamron's done, isn't it?
I'd have to think further back. I think it's
Recently,
the first
anyway.
one we did in autofocus. There might have been,
autofocus.
back in the main focus days, there might have been some large aperture primes, but
All I can say is wow.
Yep.
It's been rated by some that take a look at lenses as the most outstanding 35-1.4 lens made, number one.
Yep.
And I used it. I adapted it onto the Sony, and it just rendered beautifully. I tried to shoot it mostly at 1.4 because if you got it, use it.
Use it. Yeah. Yeah.
And I
agree.
used it last week on some family projects, and it was just beautiful. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll do something on that 35-1.4 because that's a popular focal length. That's a popular lens for people, and I'm not sure everyone knows that Tamron's got that.
I agree with you. It's a special lens. It's a lens that's near and dear to my heart because 35 millimeters is my favorite focal length. If you're going to take everything else away from me, leave me with a fixed 35, and please leave me with the Tamron. It is not anywhere near an ordinary lens. It was designed and built as a kind of a big statement piece, a big bold piece for the 45th anniversary of our SP moniker for our kind of upper tier of lenses. So the engineers threw everything into it. Everything that you have put into this lens, make it the best lens Tamron has ever produced.
Well, I think they lived up to that.
Absolutely, in mechanical and sharpness and rendering and bokeh and multi-coatings to fight flare and improve contrast. It has it all.
Yeah.
And the fact they brought it out at $899 blew my mind.
Yeah. So I can say from firsthand experience, though it's the Canon and Nikon mount, the Canon mount adapts to the Sony E-mount beautifully with the Sigma MC11 adapter. Yep. And the autofocus was sharp, fast, everything about it was beautiful. So though we're talking tonight about the Tamron lens for Sony, but these adapt nicely. Let's see, Jeff Sigmund joined this and he said, hi from Walford. And he said, I picked it up a few days ago, probably meaning the 35-1.4, or he could have meant the 70 to 180. I'm not sure which. We were talking about the 3514, so he might have been saying, because he just posted this, that he picked the 3514 up today. Let us know, Jeff, how you like that lens, and send me, if you take a photo of something that you really are proud of and like with it, email that photo or photos to me at kimp@photopro online. I love to post what customers are shooting, and whatever lens you have, I'd love to see what you're taking with it. Justin's got a request.
Yeah.
He says he wants the Tamron 300 f2.8.
We haven't built one of those in a long time. I think he's requesting us to build one. I will file that paperwork for you, Justin. I got no promises. Tamron only asks me to sell them. They don't ask me to design them.
Canon just came out with what, an 800 millimeter?
Today? Yeah, Canon had a big day today. I don't normally comment on competitive stuff, but they had a big day. They came out with a 600 and an 800 millimeter f11 and two brand new cameras, an R5 and an R6.
And an 85 millimeter. Yep. So it was a stellar day for them.
Yep, they've been busy. They'll be busy.
Really, as photographers, we have an embarrassment of riches. The tools we have at our disposal, there's really no excuse for us to not just take outstanding photos. We just need to use what we have and enjoy them. And, because we just have unbelievable tools. Any other questions people have here, ask it. We'd love to do that. We don't know, Justin, when the 300 f2.8 is coming out, but you can buy me one, Justin, when it comes.
I'll tell you that 3514 that we've been talking about, we did put a $200 instant rebate on it a couple of months ago, and since we've done that, that thing has just taken off, and I don't have them in stock. They're on back order with Tamron. We're still building them as fast as we can, but if you,
it was a $200 rebate, right?
Yeah, it's $699 right now.
I know.
So if you have to have one, be patient. Call down to Dave at the shop and be patient, because it's going to take me some time to get them.
Well, I was going to ask that on inventory flow. How's Tamron doing? Does it depend on item by item, or?
It's been really tricky. Our factories are up and running. We're not having supply issues getting product into or raw materials into the factories. But forecasting has been really difficult. June, we have to say, June was a very good month. It definitely blew our expectations out of the water. Sales were very good, and they were much better than we anticipated. So we blew through almost everything we had in stock. And when you call up the factories and say we want more, they can't just throw more into a box and send them over. It takes time for them to schedule that production and make adjustments. And we're certainly not the only country. Tamron USA isn't the only sales organization asking for more inventory right now. So I think that's the good thing, and hopefully we can keep COVID at bay, and we can keep everybody open and keep everybody healthy, and prepare for kids going back to school this fall, hopefully in a healthy environment.
Here's the great thing: photography, whether it's a hobby or most of the people that are associated with PhotoPro, they might do photography part-time. Very few of our people that come and shop at PhotoPro are full-time. That's just not the way life works. There are full-time photographers in the area, and they do shop at PhotoPro, but 99% of our customers are people who love photography, and then some that do it a little on the side, make something on the side. And but we've got some great tools. Tamron's got some great lenses that we have to offer people, and like I said, for the person who loves photography, even though we're in a difficult time with COVID, we can enjoy our hobby during this season. I mean, I was trying to get out to shoot every day until I got sick and dealt with that. So some people know that threw a wrench in. But I was trying to photograph every day. It was just wonderful for my mental health.
Yep.
And even when I was doing I did about 20 front porch sessions, and with those I used my 70 to 200. I racked it out to 200. I was 20 feet away from people in their porch, and we're in the summer here, and we can get out, whether it's landscape or with people. We can enjoy this all year round, and we're fortunate to have a hobby or something we care about that we can continue to do. A lot of people can't do that right now. So, Mike, we don't have any other questions. Really enjoyed this. We'll have to do this again.
Absolutely.
Fun looking at photos, talking about gear, answering questions, and this is going to be, it is recorded, and so we'll be posting this. People can catch it later. Anything, last comments, thoughts, Mike?
No, I am good. I really appreciate you having me. I appreciate the support of your guys' customer base and Photo Pro. So thank you very much.
Yep. We still got people with us all the way to the end. So that's a good thing.
Love it.
Yeah, we love it. We enjoy our customers, love talking photography with them. So, Mike, thanks so much. Have a good evening, and we'll catch up with you soon.
All right. Thanks, Kim. We'll talk to you later.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.